Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me okay? Put a one in the chat if you guys can hear me. Boom, this is working. Let's test out Josh and see how his is doing. Josh, can you hear us? Josh, can you hear us? Yeah, he can hear us. We can't hear him. He's having some technical difficulties. We're going to get started here in a second. I'm super excited to have everybody here. We have a lot of people in this chat right now. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Stacy. Some people have come in as guests, 253, 174, 66, 51, 214. Trisha, hello. We're going to get started here in a second. We're just trying to make sure Joshua's microphone is working. He can hear us, but we can't hear him. So we're going to start out by doing some quick introductions. If you don't mind, please put in the chat where, Daniel, good to see you. Put in the chat where you are visiting us from. What city, what state, what country, where are you guys visiting us from? We're in Las Vegas here. Joshua is in South Carolina. Dana, hi Dana. Atlanta, Miami. Wow, we got some good ones here. Look at that. Panama City.
Mesa, Arizona.
CLT. What's CLT? Boston, New Mexico.
Can you hear me?
Arizona. Yes, we can hear you, Josh.
Dude, I don't know what the heck's going on, but hopefully it's good now.
The Eagle has officially landed. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my head so that way at least I'm looking at it forward at everybody instead of to the side. Hopefully that doesn't change anything. You guys can still hear me. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You?
Yeah, fantastic as well.
Awesome.
Busy the last couple of months. You've been pretty busy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot busier than I typically am, but it's all good stuff.
Yeah, didn't you moved from Florida to South Carolina, I believe, right?
Yep. We had the goal of moving to Charleston, God, probably 2015 with my wife and I, and we started off in California because that's where we're from. She joined the Air Force while I was building up my business, and she got us to Georgia, which we knew that was pretty close, so we moved there, and then she got another job in Florida and finally got her dream job in Charleston. So yeah, here we are.
Congrats to her, man. That's exciting. Yeah, you guys are living the dream.
Yep.
Even got your nice little workout facility right there behind you. You get up in between sessions and go get some sweats in.
Yeah, she tried to actually get the office, and I told her no way. I have to have my own office just for stuff like this.
Yeah. We're the same way. My wife wants to take state claim in certain things. I'm like, nope, backyard and office is mine.
You can have a she shed.
Well, wonderful. I'm super excited to have you here. There's a lot of people that have signed up for this to hear your story, my story, and kind of go over like how each of us got to where we're at, because we have a lot of aspiring agencies in this chat room. Before we kind of go into that, I do want to let everybody know that there will be a Q&A session at the end of this. We're going to try to just open it up for questions. So if you have questions, please write them down. I would not suggest putting them in the chat right now. They'll kind of get lost. We will give you like a 3 to 5 minute warning before we start taking questions. That way you can put them in the chat. And it'll be like first come, first serve. We'll just kind of go through, and you can ask Josh a question, myself a question, both of us, and we'll give you the best advice that we can come up with. But Josh, so how long have you been using HighLevel?
Funny story. Well, not really funny, but 2019, when it just came out,
Okay.
I think it was just really a funnel builder and a CRM, where you had Twilio at the time. So I wasn't the first one, but I remember a lot of people were still using ClickFunnels at the time for agency. ClickFunnels, I think, is a great tool as well, but
Right.
it just, it was 2019, right? When I feel like that was like the pioneering of GHL.
Right. Yeah, I agree. We started out using ClickFunnels amongst many things. It solved one piece of the equation for us. And of course, finding GHL was super, super beneficial for us. I guess I'm going to kind of release the microphone to you in just a second. I have a couple of questions. And I think my big one is like early on, what are one or two of the mistakes that you made that kind of taught you the things that you should be doing different?
Yeah. That's a hard one to answer, but obviously there's things that I would do differently knowing what I know now. If you look back at the trajectory without like getting too much into my history, obviously at some point I realized that there was a big opportunity to start a marketing agency. So I was very attracted to the idea of that because I was always doing sales job and I wanted to start my own business. But it was, 2019 when I started specifically into the marketing agency thing. And I'd say the biggest thing is just not giving up. 2019 is when my agency took off. 2017 is when I started. So there's like a 2.5-year gap of like me actually being successful. So the biggest thing is just like obviously not giving up. There were several times where I was contemplating quitting, and technically I did quit a couple times, but I always came back to it because I was doing other things. But the biggest thing is just not giving up, even if it takes you a long time. I saw so many people have success. I'm a good friend with a guy named Jeff Miller. Thank God for him. He's helped me out a lot. And if it wasn't for him being successful and seeing that, so like also surrounding yourself with people that like are doing it, because in the beginning I remember where I thought it was all BS. I'm like, how is everybody having success but me? And so that's where like just sticking to it is like the most important thing. Don't give up. Doesn't matter if it takes you 10 years. Just like, don't give up. I'm in a house right now that I visited back in not this house specifically, but the area back in like 2019, actually, right before I became a success. And I remember looking at these $1 million homes, like wanting to move into there. So if I would have given up, I never would have, moved into this house. So big thing, don't give up. Don't be afraid to test stuff. It's kind of a loaded question. There's like many directions I could take this in, but biggest thing is don't give up, and obviously find your niche and what you love. As you go through this evolution of becoming an entrepreneur and agency owner, that's going to help greatly.
Okay. I appreciate that. I think a lot of people, aloha, Christina. I think a lot of people kind of resonate with what you had just mentioned. That probably, I'm sure there's a lot of people, myself included at some point, you're just like, is this worth it? All the time and energy I'm putting into it. Right. And then, like all of us at some point kind of contemplate, do I want to do this? Do I want to keep putting in the energy and effort? Is it going to take off? At what point is it going to be successful? Right. So that I appreciate that. All right. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. I know that you have a couple things that you want to go over with everybody. So it's all your stage.
Yeah. So do you want me to go over like story, how I got started, or anything specific?
Yeah. So I think specifically, like, maybe just like a brief explanation of, how you got started, some of the biggest challenges you had, at what point it kind of clicked for you, and then really took off. Because like with us, when you hear our story, it's going to be similar. Like we fell on our face for 4 to 5 months, like flat on our face. And then when it finally clicked, it just literally skyrocketed and it went fast. And then, like give the people in attendance some tips on like how they're going to get their first 10, their first 20, their first 100, and get to that point.
Yep. So I'm gonna kind of really start from the beginning, because I think it's important to understand the context of like the people and the psychology of who we are. And I hear this a lot, and like some people are like, "Oh, mindset's BS." I was one of those people that thought mindset was BS. You see in these courses that come out, there's a lot of like mindset stuff, and say, "Oh my gosh, here we go again." And I was that guy, and it was all the way up until I became successful that I realized actually mindset had to do with everything, literally everything. And here's what I mean by that. So I joined the Army. You got a really cool story, and it was so funny when I was talking to you at GHL. We're getting our awards. I don't even, mine's back there, the little SaaSPRENEUR.
We gotta hang that bad boy up.
I know. It's not even done yet. I was so excited to move in here, but I have my vibe board. That's all I care about. But anyway, yeah. So your story is crazy. So I love your story, and I don't even know how much like you can technically share. But so I joined the Army. The reason why I joined the Army, no joke, is I was born premature, and I kind of grew up. I don't want to say sheltered, but my parents like really looked after me. Don't get me wrong, I worked my ass off my whole life. Race motocross, very competitive kid. Okay. But I noticed that like a young age, I was always like daydreaming in class about building a business. When I was younger, I would literally take graph paper and design a house, like my dream house, and I would like to list out everything I wanted. And like, I was like, well, I'll be a general contractor one day. And, I hated that stuff. Never went that route, but I realized that like I needed to fix my mindset. I needed to harden my mindset, essentially, as David Goggins says, get hard. And so I was like, okay, school I was failing in, I was held back twice. They thought I literally had a learning disability, and it just turned out that it wasn't that I wasn't smart. It's just I didn't care about the subjects. I can't do things. So I decided to join the Army, become an infantryman, become part of the surge. And I remember my dad. They were I have two dads, a very supportive stepdad and my biological dad. They're very supportive, but they were concerned because I was born premature and I had issues running when I was younger, and they're like, oh, I don't know if it's a good idea. I was like, no, I'm doing this. Because deep down inside, I was like, if I could fix my mindset and go to Iraq, literally war was my biggest fear, literally. And I wanted to be a Green Beret, and that didn't end up working out. I deployed too much and just never applied to it. But that was my goal. So I go through basic, and I remember making it through basic. There was like the first 2 weeks, I like literally wanted to quit and almost did. And
that's
then I got
exactly
past
what
that.
It's supposed to do. It's supposed to make that's their job.
Yeah. And so I remember I was like writing my dad, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. You were right. Because we owned an orchard, a farm back in Northern California. I remember I was like, can I come back and work with you? And the letter he wrote back was basically, yeah, he's like, you're always going to have a home here and love to take you. Just do your best. So anyway, go through it, pass. And, I remember there's just a big shift. Like, you're dealing with people that are just mean, disciplined. I remember waking up, being woken up in the middle of the night, just people screaming at you, like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Why did I do this? So go through all that, get to my unit. And, I just, we ended up deploying and ramping up. And so I got my wish. We saw a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of bad stuff. We had the most casualties in my unit specifically. We were a reconnaissance unit. We'd go in and basically find the bad guys and do our missions. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is it's actually really relevant. If you are not prepared to work your butt off and get nothing to show for it for a long time, like this isn't for you. And this is not to discourage you. It's to help you set up, yourself for success, so you can figure out like what I gotta do. So I was in for 8 years, and there was a very specific moment in Iraq. I was blown up on my vehicle once, in a graveyard on foot, suicide bomber, several mortar attacks, firefights. And the first one, we were being told we were going to get ambushed, and I literally thought I was going to die because we had no air support, and we were outnumbered in a new area that no U.S. forces had ever been. It was this place by Route Vanessa in the Dahlia province. Not Dahlia. What is it? I want to say it's like Diyala province. Not a good area. So I was like, dude, if I get out of this, I'm gonna like do something with my life. And so my buddies started dying essentially, and that like intensified it. So like I said, when I get out, I'm gonna do something, and like that was my commitment. So fast forward 8 years, getting out, I'm like, I need to do sales. So I started doing sales, and I was really good at sales, but I would get burnt out really quick because I didn't like the product and I didn't like working for other people.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I'd be so good and they'd be so happy. They're like, dude, you just don't apply yourself. And, I can't like, blame them. So I'm going to school, and I decide that I'm going to go to school for IT. I'm going to start up an IT business. That was my first thing, something online. I don't like doing hard labor anymore. I feel like too many sandbags.
Like actually fixing
stuff.
computers and stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, my definition of IT was working with computers, whether it's sales, software, like very kind of broad. I didn't understand it, and I was sold a pipe dream by the school. I'm not going to name because I don't know if I could legally do that, but essentially they got shut down, and I used my post 9/11 GI Bill and lost all of that, lost accreditation, and they got sued, and I think there's still a lawsuit going on to try to get our money back. But anyway, my plan fell through because I didn't have the credentials, so I lost my faith in college. And it was that point, about 2015, where I started to realize nobody's coming to save me. I gotta do this myself now. So I meet my wife, the most supportive person. I mean, she was perfect for me. Just really supported me through the process, and it was very important. I never would have had. I wouldn't be where I am today. And I know that people say that, but no, like literally, I wouldn't, because she's the one that told me don't give up. And people would always ask, because she was a full-time Air Force, and I'm trying to build this business. I have no money. Like, oh, what's your husband doing? Oh, how's your husband doing? Oh, you could tell that they're like, yeah, maybe it's time to get a job.
Right.
But she was super supportive. So anyway, I'm selling insurance at this point, going job after sales job, and talking about mindset. I have nothing to show for success. I got out of the Army almost 2013. It was October 2012. Meet my wife 2015. I'm struggling. Like, my parents are worried about me. People are worried about me. And I'm trying to find my way. And I'm like 30 years old now at this point. Like, people usually have their stuff together. So again, like, if you look at the journey from when I wanted to start a business and be a success, it was like, the end of 2012, early 2013. I didn't hit my first $10,000 a month until like October of 2019. And so I'm selling insurance.
Was this the month where you were moving in the same month?
Is that no, it wasn't. Actually, no. We moved to Florida in June of 2019, and it was October of that year. But so I'm trying to think. Yeah, October of 2019. That's when we hit it. So all the way through that point, like 20 2017. I'm selling insurance, trying job after job, trying to figure out am I going to start an insurance company? I did see this dude named Dan Henry talk about Facebook ads agency and growing one. And I remember seeing a webinar. I was driving to an insurance appointment because we would sell like products to CHP and state prison. Like we had a payroll. It was interesting. So like, it's weird. It's like we could sell private insurance to these guys. So we'd go and we'd present. And I couldn't talk in front of people at the time. So it wasn't like even good for me because I sucked. So I see this webinar and it's like, start a Facebook ad agency. Anyway, that just lit something in me. Like, and here's the most important part, guys. For the first time ever, I believed I could do something. Specifically believed I can do something. I had the belief. I had no business plan, no idea of what success was, but I had enough discipline to keep going and keep trying. And I figured out what I believed in. So the number one thing you have to do is figure out what you believe in. I remember telling my wife, it's like 90 days, we're going to hit a $10,000 a month. So what did I start doing? And I didn't hit a $10,000 a month. That was like 2017. It wasn't until 2019. And I sent cold emails, cold looms, cold called. That's what you do right now. If you don't have any clients, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do differently right now. If you don't have any clients right now, literally send out cold emails, send out Zooms. Not even really cold emails per se by masses. You just find areas. If you're an agency owner and you want to start a SaaS business, you just reach out to people, because what you need to do is you need to try a lot of stuff. You need to understand the fundamentals of marketing. And chances are when you're starting out, you may not understand things right away, but lucky for you, there's a lot of stuff that works. But one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get a customer and just rely on a snapshot. And then if that snapshot doesn't work, not understand how to fix it and make for a poor customer experience. And this is kind of like stuff that I've learned. So I prospect, I'm getting clients, but I'm having to do stuff for free in exchange. I'm like, hey, I'll make this work and then you'll pay me. Man, I got a CrossFit client. Yeah, I got a CrossFit. Nothing worked for me for like a year. I got a CrossFit client. They started getting leads, did everything. Come to find out, I talked to the guy and he's like, yeah, nothing's ever worked in my area, ever. So, okay, great. I had a buddy that gave me the same snapshot that worked for him 30 miles away, and it didn't work for me. So what did I do? I kept trying stuff. I kept trying different niches, different things. Finally, one day it gets really bad because I had nothing to show for, and I had a deep conversation with my wife. She was very supportive, but she's like, I don't know, we might, you might have to get a job if this, doesn't. And I didn't disagree with her. Like, it was like, damn, right. Yeah. She wanted me to pursue it. Just like, the very next day I went to Fiverr and Upwork and I found a client. The client's name was Cat. I reached out to them. Cat's gluten-free. Got on a call with them, sold them, got like a retainer, like $2,000 call, consulting call. Gave them 101, like 101x ROI. I still have the screenshot till this day. And they were a huge national sized e-commerce like donut company. And I ended up doing so well for them, it broke their supply chain process and they had to quit. Like, cause that ad did so well. It just like, they couldn't, they had to bring in more people and it caused problems.
They couldn't handle it.
Darn it. So yeah, so like I'm reaching out, the point is I'm reaching out to clients, the results are, I got my first paying one. And that was about like going into 2018 and I'm still trying to find clients. And then one day, I'm getting really good at what I'm doing, meaning I'm getting good at building funnels. This is why I'm saying reach out to clients. Get used to building funnels, understand marketing, understand the principles, understand what gets attention, understand what gets people in. And I'll put this in a more like action stepped way. I actually have it right in front of me, but this is kind of like the journey of the stuff I've learned. I had to learn a lot of things about automations and stuff not working and how to deal with, clients being upset.
Yeah.
And so we go through that and I see this message in ClickFunnels about this gentleman. And I've got a few clients here and there on the way, building funnels, and I'm building stuff in Kartra, ClickFunnels, learning everything, taking a beautiful funnel job where I'm running Facebook ads, building a funnel for $500 a month, making a new niche work that, just people are ungrateful for. And I'm like, lady, you've never got a lead before. Like, I'm charging you $500 a month, building you funnels, getting you leads. Like that. What are the expectations here? So then I learned setting proper expectations when you go to sell something. Like, hey, my job is to generate leads and opportunities. Like, your job is everything after that. And of course, you can make lead quality better, but like, we can only be blamed for so much. So I see this post in a ClickFunnels group about this guy needing help, and I was to the point in my career where I wasn't cocky, but I was confident, and I realized that
Were you knee deep in GHL this time?
Yeah, I was in GHL and ClickFunnels. I was using both of them. Mainly ClickFunnels for the funnel builder, but getting familiar with GHL. But clients use different stuff at this point.
Right.
This guy's like, hey, I need help with this campaign, and it was in the Cairo niche, and everybody's like, don't do Cairo, and so I was trying to stay away from it. But I was very confident, so I messaged him, and I'm like, hey man, I can help you out, but it ain't gonna be free. Like, kind of not mean, but like, dude, I'll help you, but I'm sick of like doing stuff for free. And so
you were kind of fed up.
Said, yeah. He said, yeah. Cause I was selling insurance and driving all over the place. Like, and I was getting good at calling leads too. So like, it was super hard to sell insurance. Like, but we were like literally dialing old leads, and it was an interesting time in my life too. And I kind of went over that, but I was selling life insurance.
So at this point, you're cold calling insurance companies to make a paycheck, but trying to build your business.
I'm selling insurance. I'm selling insurance as an insurance agent while trying to build a marketing agency.
Now, do you feel like that helped you build your business?
I do. Yeah, because I learned how to properly call leads.
Okay.
I learned how to properly call leads, and I learned how to talk to them. I learned like it's amazing, man. So that equipped me to get rid of like, oh, my leads suck, because I'd literally just call the leads back. And like, I'm trying to remember the script we did, because it's like really simple, and I still use it to this day. Oh, so like, how people will, and this is something I think everybody should use. How people be like, oh, I didn't fill that out. Like, oh, I didn't realize I filled that lead form out when somebody fills something out when
like
they opt in. Oh, I didn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just looking at it. Oh, gotcha. And so they're saying, oh, like, that's not me. So the first thing I do is I go like, hey, first name. Hey, is this Dakota? Hey, Dakota, this is Joshua calling from XYZ Insurance. Hey, I'm just giving you a call back about the form you filled out. And they'll go, oh yeah, that wasn't me. And then I go, oh, is this Dakota Johnson? And they go, yeah. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They go, yeah. Like, oh, gotcha. Yeah. It might have been a while ago. Anyway, my simple job is just to get you the information. Are you still interested? They'll go, yes or no. And then I'll just go, any reason you're not available tomorrow or the next day, and shut up. And it like literally works. Because you have to like let them tell you, because it's like you cop them on like, okay, we know it's you now. And then if they like tell me that they try to tell me that they're not interested in it, I just ask probing questions around, okay, well, help me understand, like, why did you fill this out in the first place? So I learned how to really have a conversation with leads and get that information. And most of all, here's the biggest thing that's probably helped me more than anything, is it's awkward. It's confrontational.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to get past the awkward confrontation. And if you can't get past the awkward confrontation of doing that, you're never going to be successful. Like, it's just, you're not going to get past it. So that helped me greatly, because I started, when clients would tell me their leads weren't good, I would, go and call them and do that. So go ahead.
Let me ask real quick, because I think it's important to kind of talk about like the different types of GHL businesses. Like, we have some people on the call that are SaaS companies, and we have others that are on the call that are marketing agencies. And then even some that are on the call that just use HighLevel exclusively for their business only.
Okay.
They don't really resell it, right? So you have three different models. We personally started as exclusively as a SaaS company.
Yep.
And you are in the marketing agency world. So two different like models, right? And
Yep.
you were able to see an enormous amount of success and so forth. Like at some point when you're cruising along and you're doing this high level thing and you're trying to figure it out, at some point it kind of clicked. You're like, okay, here's how I get my clients, right?
Yep.
What point was that for you, and what did you do different to where it just really started to take off?
Yeah. So after that gentleman made a post in one of the groups, I ended up building a campaign for him. The campaign crushed it. He came to me to build another campaign, and instead of getting leads for that campaign, I had the crazy idea to get people to prepay because it was in the weight loss industry, which is like, and I had e-commerce background. And so I'm like, I wonder if this niche will work like that, but for local businesses. And I did. So we got people paying customers. That's when stuff switched. Going back to October 2019, I hadn't been home for 2 years. My wife flew home a couple times. I was embarrassed to go back home to Northern California. I didn't want to show my face. In my mind, I had it like, I'm not coming back till I'm success or die trying, literally. And that's where I talked about the mindset. So October's coming up. I get the client. We do so well. The guy basically starts referring people to me, and I turn him into a referral partner. My daughter's turning 3 October 15th, 2019. Hadn't been home that month. Things started to change. We hit a $10,000 a month flying back to California on the way home. We had no money left. We bought the plane tickets off of our taxes. I remember being on the airplane, literally hitting a $10,000, or actually, take it back. We were at $6,000, but we were trending to hit $10,000 a month. So life was great. That's when everything changed. And I'll obviously get into it. You can ask me specifics on like what that looked like and SaaS. And I don't really feel like, yes, SaaS is SaaS, but in my opinion, there's not really a huge difference. It's not that it's not important, but I'll explain that. But anyway, that's when things changed. I had a real product. It was the Tesla of the industry. It got paying customers, and I became a preferred vendor for an Inc. 5000 company. And I don't have to worry about ads till this day because I have a good product. And that's where I think people go wrong. And I could go a lot into the story of like how that moment changed my life and was my like coming home. And people are like, good job. Parents are like, good job. That was a great moment. I ended up buying my daughter the most expensive cake in town from a guy that I think he was on like Cake Boss, Frank Biltz.
You said the most expensive cake?
Yeah.
Cake Boss.
There's a gentleman named Frank
like
Biltz.
He has a store in New York or something.
Well, it may not be that guy. It's some type of cake show, and we had like a famous person that built cakes in our hometown. So I bought my daughter a cake like that and hired a band. And like just like spent all the money, like just kind of celebrating because I knew we were good after that. Yeah, so that was let's see, October. But here's the point in all this. People focus too much on the marketing and the SaaS and not enough on the product. It's not the SaaS; it's actually the end result that the SaaS gives you. And I think that's where the biggest mistake is. Like, yes, SaaS is a good opportunity, but it's what your SaaS delivers specifically. It's what that end result gives the client. And so I do offer software as a service, but I bake that into my marketing with my invoices. I do charge for billing and all that stuff, but I just have it included in my invoice, like with it itself. But like overall, people don't buy me because SaaS. They buy because of the end result mine brings, and that is why my product is so good. My competition is essentially irrelevant. Now, yes, I'm getting more competition these days, but my product's so good, I'm a preferred vendor. You know what I mean? It's like Tesla.
Right.
They don't have to market their vehicles because it does something specific and people buy it.
Right.
It's the same thing with
Right.
me. So that's the biggest thing I think people mess up is they focus too much on the marketing and not on the product.
Mhm.
You know, and there's different ways you can do that, fix that. I call it brand equity, and really putting it, a face to your name and, showcasing what you do. So, the first thing I do is like, okay, what is the offer you have? What is the product service you have? Can anybody else do that? If so, like, is there anything that you could do specifically to make that different? And
Mhm.
you're going to get to the point a lot of the time where you can't, because now we have some competitors that are, offering AI and all this stuff. And that's where I get into something I call docu-marketing that I kind of built up over the years. That's why I call it. Um, and it's retelling marketing documentaries to build your own brand equity in your business so you can stand out. So that's something that I'm really working on right now, is building our brand through that process. So I'm the difference, I'm the common denominator, aside from my product and service. So like people, when they see my content, they know that I'm knowledgeable and an expert right now. So
Right.
I don't know, I kind of went off a tangent there, but that's kind of what led me to this point of being different.
Right.
And, even though we're in a world of people offering the same crap.
So if I'm hearing you correct, what you're saying is that marketing is less important because you don't want to throw money at something that's not converting and that isn't a good offer of some sort, right? So
Yep.
your brand, your offer, whatever it is that your pitch is to get people to become part of your SaaS or your agency is really what you need to fine tune. And then when that works, then you can start throwing money at it and so forth. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Just essentially standing out. Like, and it's a hard thing to do in a world of, we're all SaaSpreneurs.
Right.
How do you stand out? Like, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which I love doing with clients too. Like, and I always bring it up, so it's not weird. Or other companies do the same stuff we do now. We're at this point. It's just like, how can you be so different that it makes sense? And at the end of the day, it just comes to your brand, you personally. Um, that's what makes things different, and which is why I'm getting like really big into overall content creation. You notice how I'm not really talking about ads. Yeah, ads are great. Ads are a tool, but as Alex Hormozy, says, like, a business that can work and run without ads is a business that I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And the other part of it that I really didn't go over at all is like referral partners, building up relationships. If
Mhm.
if you cannot communicate in a way where people find what you say valuable, trustworthy, you have nothing. That's what
Yeah.
I was building up from 2013 to 2017 to
Right.
now. Like, I have all this knowledge and information because I put as much years as it does to take to be a doctor in marketing. I see the patterns, I know what to do. And when people talk to me, they feel that, they know
Yeah.
that, and that's what makes me, and they want to work with me. And that's the
So
difference.
for the people, because there's several people that have just joined on in the last 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to try to summarize essentially kind of like your journey. Feel free to tell me if any of this is inaccurate. But when you first started, you were kind of lost, not really sure what to do, trying to get your feet wet, trying different things, most of it not working. And then at some point, you ventured into the marketing agency side of it, right? Where you started helping people and the GHL was a tool behind the scenes that you use to help them get results, whether it be for their funnel, their automations, their marketing, and so forth. Does that sound pretty close to accurate?
Yep. Yep.
Wonderful. So now I think it's really important to understand because everybody's heard, how you guys struggled for so many years, probably like a lot of us, right? A lot of people on the call, ourselves included, when we first started out, we weren't making any money with this at all and kind of trying to figure out, is this even worth it? Um,
Yep.
So for a lot of people, I think they can kind of relate to that. But in the beginning, you guys struggled to the point where you almost gave up. But now your business is doing really, really well, right? Can you tell us just in brief summary? You don't have to go into extreme detail for privacy reasons, but give us a brief understanding of how your business is doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: we started in, we took off 2019. We've done probably 3 or 4 million since then, maybe a little more, a little less.
That's crazy, man. Did you say 3 or 4 million?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
If you would like to have done $4 million in the last 4 years, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Because I mean, that's a pretty amazing story, dude. I mean, you know how many people would have given up, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that have given up before they ever
can't imagine my life, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it took me till 40, I'm 39 now. You know what I mean? If it took me till 40 to do it, it's worth it. It took me to 50. I wouldn't want to imagine my life. And so the coolest part about being on, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I'm sorry, but just like, this is the most important part.
Yeah.
The coolest part about being an entrepreneur is if you stay on this path, you can really grow. Like, if I were to look back at my 17-year-old self and say, bro, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Everybody's down you, but you're going to make it, dude. You're going to crush it. Yeah. You're going to make millions. Stay the course. Be you. Like, stay the course. And so it's the journey of the person that you can become if you allow it that way. The thing, like, I get challenges. I'm going through something right now that is crazy. And we've been through it before. And this too shall pass. You know what I mean? And we always figure out a way to be okay. I've rebuilt this agency. I got down to like $8,000 a month in 2021 for a month. We made it through COVID, and it was rough. Competition came out. People, stole our stuff, and built it back up. So
yeah,
stay the course. It's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I appreciate it, brother. And I know I've said it before, but thank you very much for your service. Christina in the chat says the same thing. So we appreciate you, man. So if you had to look back at like what you kind of have gone through, and I want you to pick just one thing that like, okay, I wish I would have done this different. Like, what would it have been?
Yep. It would have been documenting, and I'll give action steps for this, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Documenting your journey, building your brand. My goal right now is to kind of do something similar to Alex Ramosi. I'm not really trying to do coaching, be an agency coach, or do anything like that, but document like what you do and how you grow your business. Every story has a beginning, middle, and end, and the main ingredient is that in conflict and desire that you're trying to achieve, and then the people, plot, places, and purpose of that. So document your starting point, share what you're doing and how you're growing, and share that with your audience if you're building something new. Because if I would have done that from building my agency, showing that, I'm going to go sell insurance, and you guys, your objections are going to be, I'm not good on camera. I can't listen to myself talk. I can't post. I don't know what, I don't want people to see me. Like, I'm shy. I'm an introvert. Like, I'm an introvert. And I remember in 2022 when I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to get on camera. My first interview I did with Jeff Miller, or maybe it was the second one. I had to do like a shot of vodka just to do it, because he had a group of like 60,000 people, and like I was that nervous. And now we're just so like evolution. So I don't know where I was going with that specifically, but tell your story, document your journey of what you're doing, even if you're starting. That would be the biggest thing that I changed, because now you're building your own brand, your own name. Anything you touch is gold. If you decide to go into, and so that's one other thing I decided. Our new agency, Big Brand Energy, which we're going to build it slow. We're building it for the right reasons. We're going to film commercials, and it's not a local agency. We're built to work with bigger brands and do everything, creative directing, commercials. I was like, okay, well, do I use Big Brand Energy to build it, or do I use my name? And I ultimately looked at Gary Vee. looked at other people, and I decided, well, Gary Vee has GaryVee.com. I'm just going to use my own personal brand to grow it. Because I feel everything I touch is going to be gold at that point. If I go partner with another business, say we partner, and I represent that SaaS, well, my brand now represents. Same way Alex Ramosi is representing school. So that's why I'm saying document your journey. Because when you have your aha moment where you hit your $10,000 a month, now you have proof of where you did it. I have like Facebook posts, and I can show you a screenshot. I could log into my Wave account and Stripe and show you the 1,000,003 whatever I made. But like, I wish I would have took out my phone on the plane and said, hey, we're coming home, and we hit a $10,000 month. So now what I have to do is I have to like go back and try to find all those videos. Thank God for iOS, and like narrate that story, which I'm going to do. But so that's what I would do differently.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate that, man. So I guess from a perspective of somebody who, like we did it, we used a model that's completely opposite. And, you know, everybody has to kind of find what works for them, right?
Yeah.
So like originally when we started with GHL, we were a social media management company. So we had a team of 7 or 8, we called them social media managers that would manage people's social media. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I just I got burnt out on being the service part of it. And we had done it for so many years that we wanted to do something different. And so we decided to be a SaaS agency. And, you know, you keep hearing all these things about MRR, right? Monthly reoccurring revenue. Well, we were doing MRR back in, 2007. When we started our first business. We called it EFT back then, electronic funds transfer, or ACH. So when I heard MRR, I'm like, what's that? But no, we had 5 gyms. We started with one little hole in the wall. It was losing money. And when we bought it, it was losing like almost $50,000 a year. And we quickly turned it around. It eventually grew to 5 locations, and we were doing $12 million plus in revenue. And so we learned the benefit of EFT, which we now call MRR, back then, because, you know, you sign somebody up and then the monthly payments just keep coming in. So when we found GHL, like that was the first thing that went into our mind. Like, how do we do this again? How do we duplicate what we did in the gyms without having all of the brick and mortar and without having all the expenses? Because back with the gyms, our payroll every 2 weeks was $70,000, $80,000, right? So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that again, but I would love to have some of that MRR, right? So we decided to go the SaaS mode route. And, you know, for nearly 6 months, man, we fell flat on our face. I mean, like flat, like we didn't sign up anybody. We had a couple of sub accounts, but they were sub accounts that came over with us when we switched from being a social media management company. And so it's not like, you know, we went out and earned those while we were doing the SaaS thing. They just kind of came over. So for 6 months, we really had nobody. And we were struggling because looking back at it, we did exactly what most people do. And that is we just got so overwhelmed with how great HighLevel was. And, you know, how many features it had that we just decided to blast all of them. We're like, we get on a call. Like I remember, it's not like we weren't getting leads. We were getting leads. Okay. And I'm not gonna sit here and, you know, toot my own horn, but I'm pretty decent at sales. I'd get on a sales call, and when you blank 20 demos in a row, you start to doubt yourself. You're like, maybe this isn't for me. Like maybe I'm just not made for this, right? You get on a demo call and like, well, you know, I'm really looking for this. And like, oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, let me show you. We can do this, and we can do that, and we can do emails and campaigns and drips and social media, and we can do triggers, and, you know, and all of a sudden every single one ended in the same way. Like, oh, this is great. Well, we're going to think about it. We'll let you know. And we had to take a real solid look in the mirror. Like, you know, is this really what we want to do? And so we paused all of our demos, our marketing, and so forth for probably a good 45 days. and just decided to revamp it. We just stopped selling the software. And as I'm saying it out loud, it has some similarities to you and yours. Like, you don't sell the software, you sell the service. The software comes with it. Ours was once we figured it out. That's the model we went to, where we sold a solution to real estate agents that was designed to help them understand how to run their own marketing, right? So we created a course that taught them how to run a Facebook ad, gave them templates that were specifically designed for running Facebook ads, specifically for a real estate agent. So they got like 10, 12 of them and so forth. And then we would use something to get them in, right? Like the free course. They'd go through the course, like, oh, by the way, here's some templates and so forth. That is part of our other program. And then they'd hop on a demo, and then one to one, we would just start nailing them. And we went from like blanking to closing 72% of the demos that we got on a call with. Just simply because we would pre-qualify them, make sure that they were at a position where they wanted to invest. We weren't just taking demos to be able to practice. And at that point, literally, we went from no sub accounts to our first 100. And
that was real estate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good point to point out there. And I know I was like kind of general, but that's what I want to say is like, niche down, like
100%.
Niche down.
100%.
The branding stuff, the docu-marketing, I'm literally going to write I think I'm going to write a book on it because it's so important. And I already bought the domain, so don't try.
I am a domain junkie.
No, me too, man. It's a problem. Anyway, no, but yeah, niching down is super important. I niche down and don't get me wrong, I do SaaS, I use SaaS.
Yeah.
I just don't focus on the SaaS being the big opportunity. I focus on the end result of what I do, and the SaaS helps me deliver it. But yeah, you niche down, dude. Like I pick whatever niche that you think you can help, or what your connects. Like, I have nothing but connects in this niche now. So like that, it's a huge game changer.
And I think that it's important to also point out that when you do niche down, by the way, I don't know if it's niche or something. I mess it up every single time.
Tomato.
So when you do niche down, it's important to understand that you have to be passionate enough to continue through the challenging points about your niche, right? So like, we didn't come from a real estate background. Like, I wasn't a real estate agent. But I had some mortgage experience, and I came from a sales background. Like, we were gym people. We were selling fitness. Okay. We picked real estate because at the time that we were doing it, the real estate market and the interest rates were just skyrocketing, and we saw an opening that, okay, this is something that we can get in here, right? So we just started asking questions like, what do you need the most help with? In fact, what I did is I went to like 4 or 5 of our friends that were real estate agents, and I asked them specifically, like, what do you need the most help with? And every single one of them said some version of the same thing. But it was different words, but the same meaning. And that was, we need leads, we need clients. Like, I need them. Like, they're I don't, other than the ones my broker's giving me, I don't have any way to get them. Right. So so then we're like, okay, well, let's reverse engineer this. Like, how do we help them get clients? Well, how are you getting clients now? They're like, well, I'm referrals, and like, one of my other successful agents, he's running Facebook ads. Well, why aren't you running Facebook ads? I don't know how, and it's expensive, and so forth. And I was like, okay, well, so we started building it around that, right? So we started figuring out, like, what problems do they have, right? And then once we figured out what problems they have, like, how do we offer a solution for that? That involves
first principles theory.
That involves using HighLevel. Right. So we just reverse engineered it. Like, okay, like, we'll solve that problem, but we're going to put the solution inside of HighLevel. Right. So that way, when you are ready to solve that problem, guess what? You have to sign up for our version of HighLevel. And that's ultimately what ended up just making it skyrocket. And it just literally took off. I mean, we went from literally no paying sub accounts you know what? I take that back. I think we had one. I think it was a buddy of mine, and he was paying I gave it to him for $69 because he was using something else. And I was like, oh, I'll just, okay. So we had one sub account that was paying for us, but we went from that to 100 in the first less than 60 days. And at that point, one of the things I think we did really, really smart was we started paying attention to what was working. Right. And when we started paying attention to what was working, we're like, okay, look, I'm getting leads from this ad. And I'm only spending $40 a day. Like, what happens if I spend $300 a day? Right. Like, what happens if I spend $400 a day? Right. And we just started kind of like throwing more money at the things that were working. We eventually got to a point where we were spending $8,000 to $10,000 a month in just Facebook ads.
Yep.
But we were generating 5 times that. So so it just gets to a point where you start to finally figure it out and it makes sense, right?
Yeah, and that's the point. The good part about it, about being an entrepreneur, is like being solution oriented. This is so crazy. But I find myself in these situations and I'm always like, solution, like what can I do? And I'm learning, and there's a couple other like really important things I recommend. OKRs, which are objectives and key results. So OKR is kind of like a goal. Objective is a goal, but like very specific. And a key result is like kind of how you measure you're hitting that objective. So if I want to get, the agency to 100,000 a month, my key result could be specifically, or objective would be grow agency revenue. Another objective could be increase client results. And a key result for increased client results would be like increased client results by 1 to 2 sales through an AI chatbot. And then a key result for revenue could be like increase, pay per performance, revenue by making a new marketing funnel or trying this one thing. But like, it's so important to have those and be solution orientated. And then on top of that is execute. And what I mean by execute is like, do the things and try the things. And then you make a problems list about, okay, I tried it. That was my hypothesis. It's failing. Like, change the approach, as Tony Robbins says. And like literally that process will make you a lot of money and remove a lot of stress if you do it. And the reason why I bring this up is because this was my night last night. We had guests come over. My father-in-law is here. And we're actually looking at, we're starting another agency because he just bought a like window and door franchise. And it is really cool because I see the potential for it. And he's going to be a referral partner. But so last night we're sitting in our nice house or laying in our nice house, going to sleep, and 2 p.m. rolls around and we hear beep, 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 beep. We're like, what the hell? And it was our smoke detector fire alarm system. And so I get up. Yeah, but it wasn't the chirp. It was loud, like you're in school and they're going off, and it would go off every 5, 10 to 15 minutes. It would beep 3 to 5 times, and then it would like randomly stop. So what do? The entrepreneur, I got up, I got a ladder, I'm YouTubing how to, and like, I went through the stages of like frustration, but like I did it. Guess what? It didn't work. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. But guess what? The entire night, every time it did it, I got up and I tried to fix it all throughout the morning. All throughout the morning. I didn't stop. And then I changed the breakers off. That didn't stop. And then one of my mother-in-law, she turned the breaker off the last time, and it worked. You know what I mean? So the whole point is like, don't give up. Be solution orientated. Execute. And when it doesn't work, keep going. I probably would have went through the same thing tonight again. And that's where I talk about resilience. Is like, you don't let stuff phase you, and it blends in all the way out through your life. So the quicker you build up this resilience, your life is going to get a lot easier and you're going to become a lot more successful. It may not happen right away, but it's going to happen. Yeah.
You got to keep building that leather skin. Correct. So, we're going to go into one more thing here in a second, but before we do, I just wanted to give everybody kind of like a 3-minute warning. We're going to start taking questions. So if you have questions that you want us to answer, just go ahead and start putting them in the chat. We'll answer them on a first come, first served basis. So while everybody's kind of working on that, I want to like one of the I'm very analytical. Like in my relationship with my wife, I'm the analytical one, right? So meaning that I have to analyze everything. Like, why did that happen? Like, I do it even driving down the road, like to the point where I'm like, that guy's gonna pull into my lane. I can see it, right? And sometimes it's a curse, right? Sometimes it's a blessing. But so I think the point is that when it comes to like owning your business, right? You need to have two important elements. Number one, you got to have somebody that could be you, could be somebody else in your circle that can analyze the situation. Because when something's not working, you need to figure out why it's not working, right? So like you need to be able to troubleshoot. Like, okay, I'm getting people to the landing page, but they're not converting into sales or they're not converting into appointments, right? So being able to essentially analyze those kind of things, and then you have to have a doer, right? Somebody who's willing, and that person sometimes is the same person, right? Analytical and the doer, right? So you have to have a doer, somebody who can go, okay, look, like now that we know that that's not working and this is how we fix it, we're going to go in this direction, and this is what we're going to do to actually start fixing it. And then if you run into a brick wall in that direction, being able to analyze, this is why we hit that brick wall. And now we're going to go in a different direction, right? So that's essentially what kept us, at least tweaking it until it worked. And I think it's kind of a key element for being successful in this kind of environment, especially that HighLevel is kind of overwhelming. It really is overwhelming. If you don't find something to dial in on and something to stick to, then you can just easily get washed out.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. And I find myself like going, it's weird. I wear both of those hats a lot of the time. For example, like I'm very visionary, like, but I'm also very integrator. It's weird. And I used to think like, is that even a thing? Can you do that? Because like some people be like, oh, you're a visionary or you're an integrator. But look at, and I'm not comparing myself to Elon Musk, but I'm just saying, look at Elon Musk and tell me that dude is not both visionary and integrator.
100%.
Is a genius engineer and then also like a visionary. So I find myself like going in between those two a lot. I'm a very, very creative person. I like to operate out of being a visionary, but I also like to create as an integrator, if that makes sense. And then kind of pass it off. So like, for example, a lot of people will pass off, stuff to VAs. And I don't even like using the term, and just so everybody knows, I have media buyers that work in India. They get paid very well. Everybody, he makes just as much as an American.
Which is very, very well in India.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm proud to say that too. And we have some of the best people coming from different countries. I know Intel, my dad retired from, and they source people from there. So like very, very good quality. I don't care what anybody says, but I will typically make our marketing material and funnels and I pass it off, to them to use. So that's like where like I build the stuff and create the stuff. And then I guess in a sense you could say they integrate it and execute a lot of that. But I play a very big role in analyzing the data. And like one thing I'm doing right now in our agency, we're going through like our 3rd or 4th like rebuild. And people might think I'm crazy for a quote unquote 7-figure agency or whatever. And, but it's like, I'm dealing with all the client problems. I'm not outsourcing it. I'm not having other people do it. Everything that comes in, I touch. And the reason why I'm doing it is what I found after running it a certain way with other people doing it, it caused a lot of confusion. And so my theory is if I can be the guy and have the relationship, if they want to talk to me, it is what it is. We went out to a nice dinner last night and I spent probably 30 minutes talking to a gentleman, helping him through some stuff. It's going to make the relationship better, but the goal should be that stuff should stop, because as I talk to them, we fix problems and build operations, which thankfully we have you for that now, which I am so thankful of. But that's my point, is like,
I don't mind doing it because I'm going to fix it.
Right.
And at least I'm building relationships. So I don't pass that stuff off anymore. I may comment on a issue task to be delegated or communicated, but anything that comes in, I touch and I direct. And usually 80% of the time I'm talking to the client. Like you probably seen me look at my phone a couple times as we're doing this. No joke. Yeah. And no, honestly, it's because I'm getting messages from our team about those types of situations. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm on an interview, but yeah, like, you know, I think one of the messages I sent was like, respond logically. You know what I mean? Just respond. Right. So that's my point is, you know, guiding the team, but like, you know, so I find that's a big change that I actually did, is not outsourcing the initial customer support and just responding. And that's what customers also want to. They don't want to feel like a number.
Yeah, 100%. We did something very similar. We had our gyms. We also had a clothing line at the same time. I'll tell you that story some other time. But we started that by accident. We used to send handwritten letters to people who made an order for the first time. Well, let me rephrase that. My wife used to send handwritten letters to people who would order for the first time, just to make it more personal, and so forth. You can see that she raised her eyebrow when I said that. All right, so let's go on to some questions. Christina, are you able to field the questions and kind of go over them here?
Yeah. So Jennifer would like to know, if you had to start from scratch today to get your first 100 customers for SaaS, no services attached, what would you do?
I had to start from scratch. First question is what product? So this is what I call the entrepreneur's bet, right? Dakota and I can guide you, anybody can guide you, but ultimately you have to make the bet that you're picking or creating the right product, offer, service. And I would start with just the idea of the product, whether that's a service or not, is what is your bet in what niche is going to do well? Mm-hmm. Because ultimately we can't answer that question. And I would just start, first of all, I start in an area. Like me, when I started it took me 2.5 years, I picked CrossFit. It wasn't the niche I landed on, but I picked it. And then after trying and trying, so the first thing is figure out a niche, pick one, and you say no services attached. You know, I would consider thinking about that. If you're not gonna have a service attached, what specifically are you able to give them that nobody else can to make it a no-brainer? So I would definitely include like AI chatbot stuff and stuff like that. But I'm saying your SaaS better do something really, really cool. So just think about what the end result of that SaaS can be, whether you're giving them. So maybe you show them how to do the Facebook ads to get the result. Or maybe you have the SaaS bot, AI bot running itself. But like, if you're not gonna have a service, make sure it can do something really cool. Pick a niche, choose your bet, and keep going.
Yeah, I think it's a good response. For me, so I think the big misconception is that when somebody, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, Jennifer, I think you're 100% spot on. But I think we say things like no services, right? Like we don't provide services. Yeah. But in reality, we do, right? We all provide some sort of service. Otherwise, there'd be no reason for them even purchase it. Even if you think of it like a company like Calendly or ClickFunnels, they provide a service. They provide templates. They provide tutorials on how to set up those things and so forth. So there's a difference between a done for you service and a do it yourself service, right? So I believe, feel free to correct me, what you're trying to say is with no done for you services attached. Yeah. And if that's the case, then you still have to have something to be able to offer them to come in and buy your product. Like for us, we didn't do any done for you services, and Josh, he did done for you services. But our service was that we provided a pre-built solution to teach them how to do like Facebook ads specifically for real estate agents, right? So it still was a service. Like our team had to build that out. Like we spent 45 days just building that out so that we and tweaking it so that it was right when we were able to start offering it to people. So that is still a service. Yeah.
So,
I see. So not referring to advertising. So for me, if let's say I was nicheless, right? I didn't know what niche I was going to do. I would hop into my personal social media, and I would simply ask everybody in there, and you can just tag like all or tag highlight, I believe, on Facebook, and I would ask them one specific question, like, what's the biggest problem you have in your business? Like, if you had a business, or if you have a business, what's the biggest problem that you need solving? And then start keeping track of every response that people give you. I've done this. I've made Google sheets, and so I'll keep track of their name. If I know their contact information, I'll put their contact information in there, and then I'll put what their response was. And then, if I don't get enough responses, ask it again. And then when I have at least 10 responses, try to figure out from there, essentially, okay, what are most of these people saying? They might all be saying the same thing, just using different words. And that's how I will figure out, like, essentially, if this is a niche that I want to go into. So let's say, like they say getting clients. Okay. So if they're all in the same industry, then I pick that industry. If they're not all in the same industry, then I go industry lists. Is that a word? I think it is. Industry lists, right? And instead, I just start offering that solution as a whole to businesses. And then once I have those things, I want to test it, right? So for me, testing is super important. I don't want to launch a product that is garbage. And it's not that I'm going to purposely launch a product that's garbage. It's that I might not know it's garbage, right? Because we all don't know what we don't know. Like, we don't know that, a lot of times even what problems might come up. So typically what I do when I'm trying to do like a launch, a new one, is I will give it to people to try, right? Like, hey, do me a favor, please try this out, right? Like, hey, let me offer this solution for you. And in exchange, I want you to poke as many holes in it as possible. And I give them the freedom of literally just tearing me apart. So that way I have an idea of what's wrong and how I fix it. And then once I've fixed it, now I have something I can start organically trying to get people to be more interested in. And then the big question is like, okay, well, I only have 50 followers, or I only have 100 followers, or I don't have a big following on social media. Well, you don't need those things, right? You can partner up with people who complement your business that don't compete against you, and you can offer solutions to them that end up benefiting you. For example, go to a Facebook, let's say you're in the real estate business, right? Go to a Facebook group and say, hey man, do you mind if I post a video? It's 5 minutes long, 4 minutes long. In exchange, anybody that ends up booking a call with me, I'll give you a referral fee, or I'll give you a piece of the commission, or something of that nature, right? So you can swap, different things to where you can actually start tapping into other people's audience. Okay. And then I would just keep doing that and figuring out what's working. And I would, if I did it with a group that had 100 people in it, then I would try to find a group that had 1,000 people and 10,000 people and so forth. And I would just keep repeating that process over and over and over again until I got to the result I wanted. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Jennifer. What's the next one?
So guest 214, at what point do you hire out tasks to replace you from wearing all of the hats?
When you get overwhelmed. Like, you got no, like, seriously, there's no other, like, so when I went home in October to California, I had just hired a VA that I was training. He wasn't ready yet, but there were times where I was up until 3 a.m. launching ads, building funnels and stuff like that. And like, that was kind of the point where, and I think I had probably like 15 clients or so at that point. But yeah, when you start to get overwhelmed and you're working 12-hour days, but that's not the important part. The important part is like understanding the roles so you can fix them when somebody else breaks them, or identify if you need to hire, fire, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I think Josh is spot on. Each person is going to be different as far as what your end goal is. if you bought into GHL just to be an investment, then likely you're not in that decision-making ability anyway. But most people didn't do that. Most people bought into it because they were trying to start their own business or expand on an existing business. And you're likely the best salesman or the best operator that you can find. Like nobody's going to care about it more than you, right? So at some point, you have to sit down and figure out like, okay, is my time more valuable trying to find new clients, or is it more valuable trying to build a funnel? Right. And if it's more valuable trying to find more clients, then hire somebody to build a funnel. Right. Like, think about like, time versus money. Right. So if it costs me, $300, $500 a month to hire a VA who can do all my funnels for me, can I use that exact same amount of time that it would take me? Because it would probably take me 2 or 3 times the amount of time it would take somebody who's really, really good at it, right? So they might spend 10 hours on it. I would spend 30 hours on it. So in that 30 hours, can I use that same 30 hours to go find a client? If I can find one client, then I just made my money back, right? And so those are kind of the things that you want to think about, right? So like, what roles are you juggling and how much are you paying or losing for those roles? Okay, another good question. Who's up next?
Guest 8. When do you feel this is the best time to pivot when you've been in a niche for so long and see the opportunity in it, but you just want to shift?
My thought on that, and it's going to differentiate from a lot of people, is try as many things as you can. A lot of people, like, I'm not saying don't niche down. Yes, niche down. A lot of the times, I mean, the truth is if somebody's making it work, it should work, especially if it's $1 billion industry. There's money in it. It can work. I would go back and look at like why you want to change or shift, and look at, have I tried everything? Have I tried different funnels? Try every damn funnel you find in the ads library. Something's working. Remodel it, learn. Anything should work. But if there's another reason, like you feel like you're more passionate in another niche and you like it, and for that reason, you're more, like I said, passionate about it, then I would go do that. But before you switch or pivot, I'd really try to understand what the reason behind that is, so you're not making it for the wrong reason, which is just because you've tried a few things and that's a trap, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very good point. So this one for me, like this, my opinion of this has actually changed over the years. So I believe, like we're all passionate about something, right? Like maybe I think guest 8 is Daniel. And so Daniel, you're passionate about real estate, right? So that's what you're passionate about. But sit back and think. Are you also passionate about being a business owner? Are you also passionate about helping people? Are you passionate about solving problems, right? And if the answer to any of those is yes, then you don't have to stick to real estate. So earlier I said I would tell you the story about our clothing line later, but we accidentally started a clothing line. I had no experience in a clothing line, zero, none. I didn't even know how to make a t-shirt. And we basically, the short version of it is when we were doing our gyms, one of our biggest things that was really successful for us is that we would entice people to come in and get a free trial for 30 days by offering them a free t-shirt. So we would like come in for 30 days free trial and a free t-shirt. So we were spending like $6,000 a month in t-shirts, and I got this wild idea. I was like, well, I can do that. I can make our own t-shirts, right? So I taught myself how to screen print, and by accident, a couple of my friends were like, well, now you can make shirts for me. I'm like, no, wait, yes, I can actually. Hold on, right? And then one of our employees was competing, and so she asked us to make her a shirt and clothing. And next thing I know, I'm making custom-made shirts for everybody. And then people were like, you should sell those. And then we ended up with a clothing line called Freak Off My Leash. That's a true story, by the way. And it became very successful. We were doing 150 orders a day. We ended up selling it for 7 figures 4 years later.
Awesome.
But my point behind telling you that is I had no passion in selling t-shirts, man. I didn't.
Yep.
But I fell into it because you know what I did have? I had a passion in helping people, and I had a passion in owning a business and being an entrepreneur and so forth. So, so your question is like, you know, when do you decide to change? Well, when you're not passionate about it anymore. And when it's not working anymore, because also you could be passionate about an industry that's just tanking, right? Like if, you know, if you are in an industry, you know, like if you're selling magazines, right, you can be passionate about selling magazines, right? And most people don't buy magazines anymore, right? Or at least not, or newspapers. You're selling newspapers, passionate about selling newspapers. Isn't that what Alex Rosie says? And all of a sudden you realize that you're just in the wrong industry. So you have to be passionate about it, and it has to be an industry that is obviously well enough for you to make money, right? So that's important. Hopefully that answers your question, Daniel.
All right, so we've got guest 277. Selling the solution that your SaaS agency offers was quite beneficial for me to hear. Their question is there anything else we should add to the already existing GHL? How do I sell GHL as a solution? And do I need to hire a, let's say, web developer for my SaaS upcoming agency? In short, how to begin as a new SaaSpreneur.
You want me to take that first, Dakota, or do you want to?
Go for it, man.
Okay. So you may not like the answer, but there's a lesson here. This is what I call the entrepreneur's bet. Selling the solution. So yes, SaaS agency is an opportunity to make money, but it's ultimately your bet on what niche area, how you're going to make it successful. So where I'm going with my other company is I mentioned focusing on docu-marketing, which is a blend of documentaries and marketing. And the purpose of it is to have a direct impact on sales, direct response marketing, build brand authority, brand equity. My evolution of being an entrepreneur, I've found what I loved, and this is my pivot. And I'm not giving up on my agency, my local agency. I'm still a part of it, but I'm building out a team to run it and whatnot. My point in bringing this up is that's my entrepreneur bet. I see a shift in the industry. I see a lot of people doing direct response marketing using snapshots that don't know the principles or even how to, the first principles theory of marketing. So I see a huge break in the industry for me to come in there, use my creative knowledge and expertise and what I know from marketing to increase brand equity with a direct result into sales. So what I'm saying is I'm focusing on the creative side now. That's my big focus. I already have, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I'm actually coming out to film Rob Bailey in this project. I'm an agency owner. I'm coming out to film Rob Bailey in October with his own docu-marketing process. Mm-hmm. So that's the bet. So what I'm saying is like, I'm going to attach GHL to that as part of it. Now, obviously Rob Bailey has his own GHL, but like I'm going to attract people with that because it's a pattern I see in the industry where I can make money. Just like the many things Dakota talked about, he made, and I'm hatching it. So my thing I'm trying to say to you is, what do you think? What do you see as a pattern as an entrepreneur that's going to help you bring SaaS and that opportunity together? Because when I go to help these big companies, they probably never heard about GHL before, and it's going to be pretty darn cool when they say, oh crap, this thing can do all that. Well, yeah, like that's just the icing on the cake here, but the real opportunity is what I'm offering you, and attaching it to GHL is the opportunity itself. So what do you see as a pattern that you like? What are you an expert in? And that's where you got to go on this journey of like identifying what you love and what works. And it's a hard question to answer, so we can't exactly answer it for you, but definitely connect GHL to something that people value, which I know is not the answer that you're looking for, but you got to go on that journey. Because if I knew, brother, if I knew, I would go do it. I'd just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great response. So thinking about your question, I think probably the best approach is to not sell GHL at all. Like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, right? Like, I wouldn't sell GHL. I would sell the solution that you happen to be using GHL to get them. So like, people buy ClickFunnels, right? But are they buying ClickFunnels, or are they buying the solution that ClickFunnels offers? They offer funnels to make them easily build. People have been building funnels for years, even before ClickFunnels became a thing. People buy the solution. They don't buy the product. They don't buy the actual software. So figure out what that is, right? Like, is it one done for you solution? Is it one do-it-yourself solution? So like a snapshot would be a good example of a do-it-yourself solution, right? If I'm selling a snapshot, like, hey, here's all the materials, it's pre-built for you. You still got to go set it up, right? Because even when I load in a snapshot, and if I don't do anything with it and I don't, make it work for my business, it's not going to matter, right? Where Josh offers a done-for-you solution, like, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you the following things, and by the way, we use GHL. I don't even know. Maybe do you even tell your clients that you're using GHL, or that?
I typically do now, and like this is also part of the problem. I typically do now because everybody acts like GHL is their own, and I get it, guys. SaaSPRENEUR, they act like it's their own, and just customers know at this point a lot of the time because they're sold on it. So I will say in the beginning, it's GHL,
Okay.
but it's not completely necessary.
Yeah. I think early on we decided to take the approach of trying to hide it.
Yeah, I did too.
That didn't work very well, because then I didn't have an answer, like, well, isn't this high level? Now we don't even hide it. Like, we just tell people it's built on HighLevel, because the solution isn't high level. It's HighLevel can't provide the solution that we're providing, because we've built it. We've built it, and it just happens to be housed in HighLevel, and so forth. So hopefully that answers your question. But I think what I would focus on is not selling GHL, not selling HighLevel at all, and exclusively selling a product or a service or a solution that happens to be housed inside of GHL. 277, I don't know if you're still on, but if that answers your question, just give me like a thumbs up or a 1.
I have one thing to add really quick. If you literally want to hit 100 clients in 6 months, this is what you do. Obviously it involves GHL, of course, use it. If you don't have any clients and this is the only thing that you want to do to hit a $10,000 a month or get 100 clients, you literally identify everybody you can help as a local business or whoever in a 30-mile radius, anybody you can help, and you start driving. You find snapshots for everybody you can, and you just go in there and you talk about them. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I just started this software that helps people generate leads. Like, just beta launch it. Don't ask for money, or say, hey, if I set this up for you, like, would you be open to do a 14-day trial? If I literally set it up for them, get it going, and just try. And then whoever you have success with after doing it so many times, and then, eventually you could hire a VA if you needed to, just go that way. That's literally what I would do if I could go back and do it. A lot of work, but I would do it. And I would do it till this day if I had to. And actually, quick story, I lost a client that got great results back in February. And it was for one of the body contouring industries that I'm in. And there's a $30,000 machine that people have to buy to do our marketing. They need the machine. And I lost this client. He got great results. I was pissed because I lost this client and they got great results. It wasn't about the money, me losing it. It was a principle, like, why would you quit? And so I'm like, screw this. This client gets waged because we're on a pay-per-performance basis. I literally picked up my phone, got Google Maps on. My wife just left. I had my 2 girls. I think my wife went to go to the store or something. And I'm starting to dial chiropractors in the area that do my service. And I call. The first person I talked to, they didn't do it. I reached the second person and yeah, we do it, but we don't have that type of machine. I literally sold a $30,000 machine to the second call I made on that person. And I got a pretty big commission and a client out of it. And they're a client till this day. So that is my point, is go out there and just do the thing. True story.
Yeah, that's a good point. One more thing, it wasn't really a question, but I've seen this mistake a lot. I even wrote it down to the point where I wanted to mention it. I think too often that people come into high level and they think, oh man, this is going to be great. I'm going to automate a business. It's going to start, I'm going to launch it. It's going to start making money and I can sit back and watch. There's a gigantic human element that a lot of agencies are missing. Yes, you can automate a lot within GHL and I encourage you to do so, but there needs to be a human being involved. You're not going to automate all of your sales. I mean, there needs to be a human being involved in a sales process, whether that's a demo, a webinar, a phone call, a face-to-face. We've done them all. We have a lot of clients that are local, and I'll once a month drive over and like, hey man, I'm in your side of town. I'm gonna stop in and see how things are doing, and so forth. And we go visit them face-to-face because we sold them face-to-face. Right. So I think a piece of advice I would give everybody is just make sure that you don't remove the human element. That human element is super important. Okay. What's next?
Guest 8. What has been the number one thing that has helped you to get and keep your clients on your SaaS?
Just offering a good product service.
Yeah. Well, I think they're different, right? So getting them and keeping them are different.
Yeah.
At least for us.
Oh, wait a second. Let me. Yeah, well, so for me, in my perception, what helps you get and keep, I would I'd rule it to the product service end result that I offer them, for sure. And then keeping them, it's definitely helping that I'm like reaching out and try to having a relationship with them. Because I wasn't that guy in the past and I am now. So I'd say that's helping, but I can tell you there's a long period of time where they didn't hear from me, and we still had them. Like we keep our people well over a year typically.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to attribute it to the service and the software, I think, more than anything, but I don't know, it might be different for other people.
Yeah. So, same. We have a lot of clients that have been with us since we first figured it out. In fact, I would say majority of our clients have been with us since we first figured it out. So getting them, what has helped us in getting them? So number one is providing a solution that is beneficial to them, but also, this is important, also making sure that solution is provided to the right audience. We made the mistake of underpricing our product for the first 3 weeks, I think it wasn't a month, but we underpriced it. And what we noticed early on in that period was that either we were getting a lot of defaults on payments, or we were getting a lot of how do you say cheap clients. Okay? As weird as it sounds, the more they pay, the less of a headache they're going to be. Okay? I'm just being transparent. I know people out there that have lower priced products, but if your product is lower priced, then they're going to be a headache. And if you don't believe me, go stand in a dollar store for 2 hours and just say nothing. Just watch.
I hate that store.
You'll see people complaining about it being $1.10, right? So my point is that price your product to what you're worth, and what service you're providing, not what you think people can afford. That's super important. So as far as getting clients, that's how I would focus it. Now, keeping them, that's super important, right? So what we found is the number one reason that people leave is because they weren't using it. And when we could get in the people that we were able to find out, get information from, is why weren't you using it? It was almost always we didn't understand it. We didn't understand what we were doing. And so we had to take a really good look in the mirror and figure out that was our onboarding process. So we started treating onboarding like we treat our teenage daughters when teaching them how to drive, right? You don't just go, hey, here's the keys, go get in the car, make sure you turn left at the stop sign and look both ways, right? You don't do that, right? No, you get in the car and you make sure that you teach them and you educate them. And then you don't just do it once, you do it multiple times, right? So our onboarding process went from being a funnel. That's what it started out as. It evolved into then an appointment. They got a one-on-one appointment. And then that wasn't enough. So now our onboarding process is 4 appointments. So we take them through all 4 stages of learning. When we did that, we noticed that our retention was really, really high because they were making it through the process and learning, from start to finish, essentially what they needed to do. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Daniel.
So Rose is next. If offering a 14-day trial, will they only get to see the features but not actually use it, as they need A2P to be able to send text messages?
Yes. I wouldn't let that be a roadblock. I would definitely have that conversation with them about getting it set up and at least getting them to rebill stuff with like a 14-day trial of whatever price you sent. But yeah, I like, again, so this is why I don't focus on SaaS specifically, because I got into the debate of, and I've seen it because one of the agencies I worked with that I was kind of managing, I was managing, and they had, one was a SaaS, Dakota knows, because we explained the process and how we're like kind of doing things different now. And it's like, when I'm giving you this, I'm giving it to you so you could have everything. So me personally, I would just have one price, like give them every, because if you hold back on any features, it like may not work as well. But yeah, I would don't hold back on any features, and get A2P set up so they can send text messages, because the point here is to get sales and leads, in my opinion. So I'd get them to use all the features. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So Josh is spot on here. So I mean, there's a lot of workarounds with A2P.
Yeah.
Number one, I think if you have an agency where you haven't pre-figured that out or pre-constructed a solution, then A2P is going to probably take you 2 weeks. 10 days, 2 weeks, right? To get, like for us, what we do is we have an A2P snapshot that we load into our agencies and our clients. So that way, all they have to do is really answer some questions, and that's in the custom values. And they could essentially get A2P approval in 72 hours or less from the day that they launched, from the day that they signed up with GHL. So, I mean, if it's done correctly, you can get it done fast. Now, if you're not set up for that, there's a couple of workarounds. You can apply for a toll-free number. Those typically get approved in 48 hours or less. But they
That's
also
what we do.
want to see your brand as well. Yeah. And they also want to see your brand as well. They're just not as stringent. And then also just keep in mind, A2P only restricts your texting. That's it. It doesn't restrict your ability to make a phone call. Like you can start making phone calls right away, like within 15 seconds of setting up your sub account. Just go buy a phone number, literally start making a phone call. But if you're referring to only texting, then yes. Now, the other thing is you have to think about is like what am I costing to giving away a 14-day free trial, right? So because most people aren't going to know how to use your system, right? You give them a 14-day free trial, and like what steps do you have in place to train them, to get them educated on it, to be able to use it? Like, is it going to be done by you? Are there man hours? All that kind of jazz, right? And then at the end of 14 days, when you notice that their payment defaulted or that they submitted a cancellation, especially if you're doing it yourself, right? You can get kind of discouraging. You're like, oh man, I just put in 2 weeks of work for this and I got nothing out of it, right? So you have to kind of think about all those things. We've done both. We've done both well and both bad. So offering the free trial taught us a lot. Like making sure we had some sort of automation to let people know they're about to be billed again, because what happened was we had a lot of first payment defaults, right? So we had to kind of change our system. That's what I mean by being analytical and figuring everything out. So hopefully that answers your question, Rose.
As of right now, I think that's all the questions, unless anybody has any questions that they want to put in.
Okay. Is that Rose Antonio? I'm just curious, or if it's a different Rose. I know her.
I think it is.
Hey, what's up, Rose? Yep. Hope you're doing well. She's awesome. She's in the same niche as me.
That's fantastic.
But the whole thing with like the 14-day free trial, I don't know if you're thinking of the same niche, but here's the powerhouse behind this. What I was talking about, going after people in your area, cold calling. I sent Loom videos, everybody. I'm like, hey, my name's Joshua. I'm a local. I just started a marketing agency, and I need to, do a test, with these funnels. Like, I'll generate leads. You just pay AdSense. Won't charge you anything, until you're getting results, basically, type of thing. But if I would have got the dude results, he would have paid me no problem. He wanted to pay me. Unfortunately, I just couldn't. But what I'm saying is, if you start with SaaS and you're like, maybe you do set up Facebook ads in the beginning to like really do anything you can and over deliver, they're not going to cancel on you. Like the guy that I was setting up, although like he wanted to pay me, he actually offered to pay me. I just ethically couldn't get past not getting him results and taking a payment. I could have got paid my first guy, but I didn't. So what I'm saying is, like, if you go out there and you hustle and you get some clients, and I walked into his location, I was taking videos and doing all this stuff. Like, they're going to see that you're working your butt off, and they're going to want to pay you.
Yeah.
Like it'll be awkward for most people to not be like, oh, why would I pay that? So like, if you show that you're working and trying to help, like, that's what I would do. It'll be a good situation, but most won't do that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, as we come to a close, I do appreciate everybody that signed up and registered and then showed up for the webinar. Hopefully you guys got value in this. We are going to do this again next week. We're going to have a different guest speaker each week to try to offer some different advice and help you guys get closer and closer to your goals. I really appreciate my boy Josh Centers. By the way, for those that don't know, even after I got my SaaSPRENEUR award, Josh was one of my first GHL coaches. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I have a coach now. And so I guess what I'm saying is don't stop learning, man. Don't stop growing. You can learn something from everybody. I don't care how big you get or how small you are, you can definitely learn something from everybody. And if you start thinking that you're bigger than somebody else, then it won't be long before you tumble down to the ground. So, learn from people, right? Everybody has something to offer you, whether it's good or bad, right? Like, you can learn from every situation. Think about how many bosses you had that taught you how to not treat other people, right? Or think about how many bosses you had that taught you how to treat other people, right? So you can learn something from everybody. Okay, so I appreciate it. I'm going to put the link to our website in the chat. If you guys need any additional support, we have some free resources on there that we're forever growing. We are adding a knowledge base for those that heard about it that will sit inside of your GHL agency. For everybody who attended this webinar and sat through the whole thing, you will get a free copy of it. Look for that email coming over the weekend with instructions on how to load it. I just need to make the video. That's really the last thing, is I need to make the video on how to load it into your account. So that way your clients can start using a knowledge base right away. So you'll keep an eye out for that. Also, we'll be doing this again next Friday. So keep a lookout for those kind of things. And then if you haven't seen it, my lovely wife, every single day, Monday through Friday, goes in and updates all of those darn Sean coming at you videos. So you can find them all in one spot. They're right inside the free resources. You just click on it, you'll see Sean's pearly face. And so she's in there updating it, usually within 24 hours, although I think she has some to update from yesterday.
Genius. Like, if you SaaS your own stuff, you guys realize all you got to do is take the video that Sean makes and just redo it, right?
Yeah.
Like, just saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Uh-oh, what page isn't loading? Something page isn't loading. It's loading on my end.
I'll take a look at it.
So,
it's 404.
Really? What did I do wrong? Did I post it? Let me try.
Maybe the link didn't copy properly. Oh yeah, because it's double. It looks like a double link. Try.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Let me do that again. Here, one more time. It's showing up as a double link. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. If you guys need anything, reach out to us. We do have a callback number on our website. You can click it and one of our reps will call you back to answer questions and so forth. Oh, and I'm going to give you an insight. Last piece before we go. I haven't announced this to the public yet. Nobody knows about it. In fact, I don't even think Josh knows about it. If you are looking for support, we are going to offer free Zoom support for 30 days. No obligation to sign up for you and your clients. You'll post a link in your sidebar, and then they'll hop right into a live chat, and one of our reps will walk them or you through whatever it is you need help with. So keep an eye out for that as well. Okay. I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you very much. Josh, I'll give you a call offline if that's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right,
Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
Bye. You too.